fatal heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet now. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here. And now, before I do begin, Shooter, in my Discord, you picked heads. Anyways, let's continue. Now, I wanted to get a part released for, well, Thanksgiving Day. I wanted to at least post something today. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone who does celebrate the holiday. Now, along with that, this what if I thought would be, well, good. This was one of the choices and then there was another one. But anyways, let us begin. Now, Bad Company, for those of you who do not understand, it is a sentient stand from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It does work similarly to Dark Shadow. However, Deku can control the stand. Now, Deku will have the ability to summon soldiers, tanks, and helicopters. However, for right now, to nerf him a little bit, he'll be starting out small. Along with that, this will be the thumbnail. I just want to keep this around to give you guys a brief explanation as to what Bad Company sort of is. Now, with that being said, let us begin. We will start with Izuku Midoriya. One day, whenever he was younger, he found that he believes he manifested his quirk. And it all started the day that Bakugo was bullying a child. Midoriya has been formerly known as quirkless, and everyone around him does know about that. And Midoriya, he does still want to be a pro hero. Now, as he stands there with his fist shaking, he does notice a strange aura begin to manifest around him. Somewhat looking down at his hands for a second, as Bakugo does go to rush forwards with his lackeys. However, as soon as Bakugo does go to throw out his hand, as soon as he does have his palm face outwards, he's immediately shot. Now, a small bullet from Bad Company does actually fly into Bakugo's hand, along with several others, causing Bakugo to actually jerk his hand backwards and scream out in a bit of pain. As he screams at Midoriya, what the hell did he just throw? Looking down at his hand and seeing that small holes are there, along with the fact that he is actually bleeding. Now, they are all surprised, wondering if Midoriya manifested a quirk. Now, Midoriya is still confused, as the other two lackeys do begin to try and run towards him, to go and beat him up. Now, with all of that, Midoriya does actually bring his hands up to go and defend himself. However, Bad Company manifest on Midoriya's shoulders, as they do go down onto a knee and take a rifled stance, bring up their weapons and begin to fire. Midoriya hearing the bullets fly, as he does go to fall backwards, with a small ringing beginning to form in his ears. As these kids, the guy with the wings, he does have small holes beginning to poke through his wings. The other kid, however, he was shot in his cheek. And once, let's say, in his hand, whatever he did, or once in his fist. Now, as Bad Company is protecting Midoriya is confused. watching many of these small soldiers beginning to form around him. Now, a small company of 10 tiny soldiers. Midoriya watches as they all stand in front of him. 5 getting onto a knee as the other 5 behind them are standing. Bakugo going to rush towards Midoriya as they all fire. Now, Midoriya is surprised watching this. As Bakugo does get hit, he actually does scream out that Midoriya is going to be a villain, and that he knew never to trust him. Now, with all of that, Midoriya is still confused, as the kid behind him asks Midoriya about his strange quirk. Midoriya looking forward to seeing those tiny men, all just standing there with their arms folded behind their back. Now, Midoriya just points out and says that is that his quirk? Hmm? The kid turning his head. Midoriya looking straight at the kid. What are you looking at? Huh? You can't see them? They're tiny men. Tiny men? That's strange. What do they do? I don't know, but they carry weapons? I don't know what those things are. Weapons? Wait, like those little things that were happening. Those rapid wounds? I thought you could cause injury. No, that was them. The kid getting a little bit more on guard about Midoriya. His quirk doesn't seem right. Now, as Mitsuki is informed of the situation, she does take Bakugo to the hospital, along with Inko being informed about what was going on. Now, with all of that, at the hospital they do try and remove these strange little things from Bakugo's hand. However, they do not find anything. Now, doctors do begin to try and perform tests as soon as they do hear about Midoriya's strange quirk, as it would be called. He was recently diagnosed as quirkless. However, it is most likely believed that he may have manifested a quirk. And more tests do begin to show that this does not seem to be the very case. Midoriya seems to be a very rare instance, possibly even once in a lifetime. He does not possess a quirk. Technically, Midoriya does not possess the joint in his toe. However, he does possess a superpower, you could call it. However, whenever Midoriya does begin to talk about these strange little men with weapons, that is where doctors do get a little bit more interested about it. And they do run tests on Midoriya. One doctor filled up a coffee cup he filled up a coffee cup with water. And he asked Midoriya if he could have his strange little soldiers move it. Midoriya was able to. Midoriya, watching as the little men lift it, everyone else can see the coffee cup just move up into the air, floating above the surface that it should be sitting down on. As the doctor stands there, sipping his own coffee, he does find this a bit more fascinating. Along with actually having Midoriya try and poke at the soldiers with a small little, let's say, what is it? A little, I would call it a stick, but it's more like, let's say a pen actually, that does work. He tries to poke at them with the pen. Midoriya is able to touch them with it, and the doctors do find that it actually does occupy some sort of space. So, they can at least confirm that they are real. And more tests would need to be involved. Now, For right now, Midoriya, though, he is told that he does have a quirk, and he is quite surprised. Now, Midoriya, he falls in love with the idea of his quirk. He loves it, it's amazing, and he doesn't want to change it. However, he does just wish that it was a little bit better, or a little bit stronger. Now, Midoriya then goes home and begins to try and use his quirk constantly, since if they're invisible, no one knows when he's using it. Now, over the course of time, Midoriya would begin to slowly watch his little army grow. One day he can summon 10 soldiers. Then, next week, he can summon 15. Then, the week after that, it was 20. He just began to see his powers develop. And at 25, he was actually able to command his soldiers to actually take aim at something. As they all do take aim, they fire. Midoriya watching them almost eviscerate a soda can. Now, with all of that, Midoriya, he was quite happy. And he does try and show off his abilities to everybody at school. However, they do find it to be quite odd. They don't really believe Midoriya since he has a quirk nobody can see. However, Midoriya does try and explain it. And the teachers are surprised to watch Midoriya actually hold a piece of paper, as he orders his soldiers to fire bullets eviscerate through the paper, and holes form on it. Everyone watching kind of surprised, thinking that Midoriya pulled some sort of trick. However, the doctors, well, not doctors, teachers do confirm that Midoriya does have a quirk. They've been informed by his mother and a few doctors. And that, in fact, his quirk can make him a very good offensive hero. Midoriya's quirk can work at close range to long range, along with the fact that it's nearly impossible to try and avoid. Now, Midoriya does begin to take the spotlight away from Bakugo. Now, this does sort of piss Bakugo off, along with him just thinking that Midoriya got lucky. Now, Bakugo does make fun of the fact that Midoriya, he is a late bloomer. However, talking about how if his quirk was really all that good, it would have manifested when it should have. Now, as Bakugo is doing that and trying to make fun of Midoriya, Midoriya does get somewhat angry. Sitting up to Bakugo with a little bit more confidence in his voice, and being a little bit less shaky, that his quirk is good. In fact, he is going to be a pro hero just like All Might. Please. I'm gonna be number one when we're older. No, I am, Midoriya says. The teacher is trying to calm these two down, and telling Bakugo that all of their quirks here are all very good. However, they shouldn't really fight. Otherwise, her going on to state that they could all end up like villains. Villains fight for small and petty reasons. Now, everyone does just stare at these two, as Midoriya does begin to glow with his energy. Now, with all of that, Bakugo does at least have his hands sort of spark with explosions. As Midoriya, he does hear them call for recess, all of them running outside. Now, Midoriya is still sort of practicing with his quirk, as he tries to summon a platoon of his men. Now, as they are summoned, Midoriya does watch them. 25 of these small soldiers standing around, and Midoriya trying to see what they can do. Now, he does actually try and write this all down, along with actually having one of his tiny soldiers jump up onto his, notebook, as he does begin to try and sketch it, trying to draw this little figurine. Now, he does actually pick it up and ask it if it can even talk, to which he gets no response. Now, along with that, Midoriya does also begin to try and see what else his quirk can do, wondering if there's any other abilities to his quirk, asking if they can only use the one gun. He gets no response. No. Midoriya does try and talk to all these tiny little soldiers, as everyone at recess can't see him cupping his hand and talking. Them all think that he's either crazy or he's got an imaginary friend too, somewhat kind of laughing. Now, some kids also do keep in mind though that Midoriya, apparently his quirk only he can see, and it's gotta be kind of stupid. Now, with that being said, everyone does go back to class, and Midoriya does actually try and focus on his quirk, desummoning it. Now, along with that, there is still the whole naming thing for it. Right now, the quirk doctors call his quirk the Invisible Army, or the Invisible Platoon. And then there was also the recommendation for Ghost. Now, Midoriya's quirk is still sort of naming is up in the air. Midoriya has tried to come up with multiple ideas for it. Now, with all of that, there is also the fact that right now his quirk is still in infancy, as he does think. And we will go over a little bit of a time skip. Midoriya is around the age of 6 years old now, and he's begun to properly understand his abilities a little bit better. As today, he's working on his little army. He can summon around, he believes to be, 100 soldiers. And they can almost shoot through anything. However, Midoriya does have his doubts if they can shoot through harder and harder materials, like metal. If they can't, that would be a problem. And we do have specifically today. Bakugo and Midoriya are both going at each other's throats, as they are having an argument. Bakugo telling Midoriya that his quirk is useless. Midoriya specifying that his quirk is actually made for fighting and for combat. Instructing Bakugo that he actually does have him surrounded right now, and he has many different men pointing guns at him. Bakugo somewhat laughing. As Midoriya, he simply just tells his men to fire off the dull rounds, you can call it. Midoriya is trying to talk to his men and trying to develop ammunition that can punch at an area, meaning that it will punch at an area and hurt the area. However, it should not puncture skin. Now, Midoriya, he is still trying to learn about it, when the men do fire these things off, and Bakugo does feel an actual hit in his arm, going to check it out. Him thinking that it was possibly just like a bug or something. However, there is nothing on the area, before he does feel another hit lower in his arm. No. Bakugo gets angry and tells Midoriya to stop doing that, as he does go to attack. He is surrounded by men and he goes to attack. For shame, Bakugo. For shame. Now, Midoriya's men all fire off their weapons, Bakugo being hit in every single direction, every which way. Now, Bakugo actually does fall over, hurt. Still bad-mouthing Midoriya that his quirk is still useless, even though Midoriya took him out with little to no effort. Now, we do have Leader at home. Midoriya is still looking online for any quirks similar to his own, and he cannot find anything. However, he did try and look up a few things about soldiers, being able to find out about different types of weapons and a tank. Now, after Midoriya learned about the tank, he was kind of interested. That is a giant shell of metal, and it is operated by people. And then there's the whole thing about a helicopter. These things are all amazing. Now, Midoriya was quite astonished, as he does begin to look into these types of things. A few months later, however, whenever Midoriya does go to manifest his army, he does notice a small little tank. Kind of surprised, as he actually does try and pick it up and inspect it. It does have a little bit of weight to it, but it really should. Now, Midoriya is looking it over, as he does actually set the tank down, confused and wondering exactly how much explosive power it can pack. Now then, Bakugo and his mother have gone out shopping, and they are actually coming back to the apartment complex. As we do have Midoriya, who is currently outside and right by a tree. Him wondering if this would be a good idea to test. Now, Midoriya, he still just does one thing. He orders all of his men to fire on the tree, as they all do so. Now, Bakugo and Mitsuki, they've just walked by and saw Midoriya bring his finger down, pointing at the tree, as they all do fire. Mitsuki watching as she does see little things begin to form on the tree, kind of surprised and confused. Oh yeah, that's Midoriya's quirk. It does seem pretty good, but I don't think he'll ever be a loud boom being heard, as Midoriya ordered his tank to fire now. As soon as Midoriya's tank did fire, it punched a hole straight through that tree. And the tree, it went falling directly backwards. It's smashing and landing on a gate, as it does actually barely hold onto the surface it was currently on. Now, Mitsuki does actually see that, along with actually turning her head a little bit and looking behind the tree. Midoriya, whatever he just did, punched through it and hit the concrete wall. Now, Midoriya actually does say, okay, that had a bit more power than I thought. As Mitsuki actually does shout, what the heck was that? Along with Bakugo looking on in surprise. Whatever that was awesome. However, him, with it being Midoriya, actually does turn away, saying that wasn't all that impressive, so he can do that too. Her turning and saying if this little shit tries it, then he is going to be grounded and beaten. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing day. And, again, happy Thanksgiving.